Hello, everyone. Before I switch over to my live scene, I am also recording for YouTube purposes. I'm going to try to throw this on YouTube as well. So, hello, YouTube audience. Hopefully, this does make it to the YouTube. So, I will keep you guys informed when I do have that uploaded onto YouTube and everything. I'll drop my YouTube link sometime, probably this weekend and stuff. And it's going to be fully unedited. I'm not going to worry about that. I want these podcasts to feel more genuine and stuff. And yeah, yeah, Niners. I'll be switching over to soon, but thank you for the resub. But yeah, people on YouTube. I'm also streaming on Twitch right now, and I will make sure to provide those links and stuff when I do upload this video. But yeah, let's switch over to the live scene, or let me on Deathin first so I can tell him hello.
So I'm trying to progress to
Hello?
level
Okay.
100 on that,
Hello?
and then from there probably
Oh,
I'm also doing Street Fighter 6. Oh, yeah, we're live now.
Oh,
oh no, you're good.
hi, Alf.
Yes, hello, hello.
Going on, Elf?
Hello. Let me switch over to my live scene. There we go. Make sure everyone can hear you guys. Perfect. Everything looking good right there. Let me turn my camera on. Boom, there we go. But hello, Niners and JT. Waffles will be coming here later. She's
Sounds
handling
good.
some stuff right now, so she'll be popping in later. And then, as you guys can see on stream, um, we have our Sandlot Talks champion JT, and then we have
Appreciate it.
Niners. So I'm gonna let the
Brand new champ
Niners.
at the
How's it
moment.
going?
I'm gonna let Niners go first because this is, I believe, this is Niners' first time on doing wrestling podcast with us because he's always been on for football. So I'm gonna pass it to Niners and go ahead and give himself a self shout out. So Niners, I'll pass the mic to you.
Oh, self shout out. I don't know about that. No, Niners for life. JT and I were just kind of chatting about this before we went live. It's been a while since I've been streaming, but I'm excited here as baseball ends and football hasn't started yet. I got a little bit of time. I'm hoping to get back in. But yep, tend to do a lot of we've done a lot of team games. A lot of individual stuff picked up here lately. My backlog is really long right now that I need to get into. So yeah, hopefully be back on here next week or so and be able to get connected back with everybody. So I'm excited to do that.
And then of course, our Sandlot Talks champion who went a perfect 8 for 8 for our Night of Champions predictions, which really blew my mind. I mean, I went for 7 for 8. I was only off by the Bianca and Asuka match, but
I was lucky.
I'll pass it to JT now to do his self shout out.
What's going on, everybody? My name is JT, as you guys probably already know. Go by the name JT Player Made. I'm mostly a variety streamer. Lately, I've been doing a lot of grinding of Diablo 4 and Street Fighter 6. So hopefully, this next month or so, I'll get those games completed. I know it's a lengthy grind, and a lot of people like to play a lot of Street Fighter matches. So that's what I've been doing as far as stream is concerned. I also want to incorporate probably some more sports broadcasts in my stream, as well as maybe some other pop culture reviews. But yeah, definitely a lot of variety of different things going on in my stream at the moment. But I'm grateful and thankful to be a part of this podcast in regards to discussing WWE and the fallout of Money in the Bank 2023.
Oh, money in the bank indeed. But before that, since Niners, this is your first time doing our wrestling podcast. Who is your favorite wrestler? You can go ahead, give me the pass if you want to give me a present favorite wrestler. But I'll let you discuss who is your
Okay.
favorite.
So my all-time favorite would be Sting. Love and I love the California Surfer Sting.
Surfer,
I
Surfer
I
Sting.
yes, loved Surfer Sting. That was my favorite. And then I'd say now just from the I kind of don't I don't know if I really have anybody that sits with my favorite current. If I had to pick, it's probably Cody, just with him coming back to the WWE and that whole story. So that's been kind of fun to watch.
Alrighty. I mean, I'm repping my Cody shirt right now, so. But yes, people, we can get
Six
started
versus
with
six.
Money in the Bank. And we're gonna go by the order that I put on the prediction sheet, not by the entire match order that we saw on the pay-per-view, of course. So the one on my prediction sheet, had the women's title match, the women's tag title match, and just to see what we got, I'm very glad that I put that as our first match to talk about, just to like get it out of the way, because it was not really a very eventful kind of match, other than the whole Shayna turning heel, but it's more like she turned face though, because the way the crowd is reacting to her, especially with what she was doing with her promo work on the Monday after. But I'll pass it to Niners on like what were your thoughts on the entire match for that one?
I agree with you for the most part on kind of where it ranks in my opinion of I won't say caring, but just kind of how the fans were going to react to it. It was kind of nice to not only to see Liv come back, but then to play that into the whole tag team bout. And honestly, the Shayna turning on Rondo, I think that's going to lead us to a extremely exciting match coming up with those two. I heard rumors that Ronda is taking a break here after SummerSlam, so we probably have that blow off at SummerSlam. Shayna probably just beats the ever living crap out of her.
Yeah, that's what's been going on with the main speculation. I know the Dave Meltzer's been on top of that one. He was talking about that Shane or not Shayna, Ronda would be taking time off or permanently leaving WWE after this, or that she at least wanted to do at least one feud with Shayna Baszler, because it was Shayna Baszler that brought her into WWE in the first place. So she at least wanted to do like a feud with her and then go. I think people are saying that she's going to go back to the UFC to have another fight. But yeah, it's just weird how they've been handling the tag titles, especially when like Ronda like a few weeks back was talking about how she wants to help raise up the tag division for the women, because it's just like been in poorly creative. So I'm gonna pass it to JT, like like your thoughts on the match and then stuff, and especially with the stuff going on with Ronda Rousey possibly leaving.
Yeah, the match was kind of messy. It's like it was weird vibe to the match. I concur with Niners. It was good to see Liv return, as well as them into the title scene again, the women's tag team title. But the whole vibe of the match to me was kind of weird. But you kind of, I don't think anyone could really predicted Shayna turning on Ronda like that. But I think it's going to lead to the production of a pretty good storyline in a match at SummerSlam 2023. So it's gonna be interesting to see where they go the next couple of weeks leading into SummerSlam with that match. But it was a weird match, but I'm happy to see the new tag team champions and see what they can do with the belts.
Oh, of course. And oh man, I wasn't expecting them to drop the titles that quickly, especially because they unified the tag titles with Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, that were the NXT Women's
Right.
Tag
So it's
Champs, but they
undisputed.
but they had gotten drafted to SmackDown, so they were basically, well, they didn't really defend their titles on SmackDown, but they were there and they challenged Ronda and Shayna to a unification match just for that. Though, but then again, just like with the main roster women's tag titles, the NXT women's tag titles, it's just been like same right there. Not really any creative being put into it, other than when Toxic Attraction had the NXT tag titles, or even Katana Chance and Kaden Carter had the NXT tag titles too. It's where the creative was a little bit better, but I'm like, I don't know. It's just weird to do that. Like, oh, let's do the match. Let's beat up on Liv Morgan for like a good like seven-ish minutes, and then we'll just have Shayna Baszler just turn on her partner. Even though she did say that she's been teasing that heel turn or whatever kind of turn you want to call it. I'll say it's a face turn because she's getting more babyface pop out of it. Because I mean, again, it's Ronda Rousey. No one really likes Ronda Rousey in the wrestling community. Um,
True.
but it's just weird for that. It's just like,
I think it'd be. I don't mean to interrupt you. Go
no,
ahead.
no, go ahead. Well,
If it leads to a clash between her and Rhea, it'd be interesting to see them go at it because she's kind of like a tweener. I think that they'll keep Shayna as a tweener more than anything, and see how see how the crowd responds to her after a few weeks after her feud with Ronda, and then maybe it'll lead to a title match between her and Rhea. Because I don't see Rhea dropping the title.
That'd be a good one.
I think she's gonna fight probably Becky Lynch at SummerSlam most likely, and I don't think they're gonna drop the title instantly back to or give the title back to Lynch right off the first match of the feud. So I can definitely see her maybe on the match of September pay per view fighting Shayna in the title match for the world heavyweight the women's title world what is it called? It's women's championship, women's world championship.
The World Women's Championship.
Yeah, that's it. My bad. So
I mean, it'll be interesting because even with because we're talking about Rhea Ripley too. It's like even her creative with the title hasn't been very the best, other than her fighting Natalia, which she squashed her at Night of Champions, and then they had a fairly decent match on Raw. Everyone has actually been talking about that one. Even Natalia has talked about that's like one of her like top 3 matches in her career that she's done. But I'm like, I don't know what direction that they'll be doing with Rhea. It's a little confusing. And I mean, both women did not defend their titles on Money in the Bank, because Asuka defended her title on the SmackDown before, which Bianca interrupted. So there's no distinct winner on that. So that one's gonna be for sure a triple threat right there for SummerSlam. The Bianca, Charlotte, Asuka for the WWE Women's Championship, and then you have the World Women's, which no one knows what's gonna really happen there. A lot of people are saying Beth Phoenix might return, just because she's beating up on Natalia. But I don't know. But I actually wouldn't mind pushing Shayna back into that title picture card for that, because that would be a really solid match, especially for their matches that they had in NXT.
Yeah,
be really good.
Man. Right now, Natalia is pretty much it's going to be used to put over the main eventers. Like, she can still put out a good quality 4-star match, but they're never going to, I don't think they're ever going to put the belt back onto her, because she's at the point of the cure. I mean, she can help elevate the younger talent, which is, served its purpose last Monday with her match with Rhea, which was a good match. But I don't think she's ever going to win the title again, unless she makes like one last run as a retirement run. But yeah, definitely the match between her and Rhea was was a 4-star match on Monday.
And then just to backtrack back to the women's tag title, some people were saying that it might be even Raquel facing off against Rhea at SummerSlam, which I'm like, I don't know why. I don't mind it. It's just very odd to. I mean, you have your tag team established and stuff, and then now you want to at least have one of them being in the bigger title picture. So it's a little odd, because I know they were teasing it when back when Liv was injured and stuff, because it was like they had that little stare down between Rhea and Raquel, and then, but yeah, those are some rumors going on that maybe it might be even Raquel, but again, I just don't know. It's like, I'd rather have them put more creative towards the tag titles too, if you want to establish a women's tag division. And what were you gonna say, Niners?
Yeah. No, I was going to say that's kind of the history. That's the way they've really gone back in history. Since they brought the women's tag titles in, they've always had one of the champions fighting for the main title, or you think back when Becky and Bayley had them, or Sasha and Bayley had them, and they had both titles as well. It's just been kind of that same thing that they've done over and over. I'd like to see them split the tag teams off a little bit, but I just don't know that they have enough teams. As you saw Monday night in that tag team turmoil match, you only had 1 or 2 teams that have ever tagged together.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. They need to start like building up and establishing more. Like, I'll even admit that tag team turmoil was kind of a little odd, because then you just have Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green just like basically bury the remainder. Like, I figured they would have had Katana Chance and Kid and Carter win that, because I'm like, Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green have plenty of title shots and they lost. So you would think they would treat it like an AEW kind of thing, like, all right, now you're for sure in the back of the line and you're not going to be in the title picture for like who knows how long. But it's like they keep getting title shots, and so that's why I figured like Kaden Carter and Katana Chance do it, because I think they fought Shayna and Ronda. I don't know if that was a for the titles though. That one I don't know, but they put on a good match. Like they let like Shayna and Ronda let Katana and Kaden do their thing. Like they actually let them do like tag team wrestling, which is like a very big missing factor in WWE's tag team wrestling. That's why I hated when Vince McMahon just wanted to destroy the tag division in general. Because like tag team wrestling is good. Like watch AEW and all these other promotions, like especially when they do tag team matches, they're like really good. So that's I'm like, you would think WWE would be, trying to bank off more tag team matches.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Oh, hello, hello, Waffles. Hello. Well, we're currently on our first match still. We're talking about the women's tag titles. Okay, making sure you're completely high so everyone can hear you. But yeah, we're putting our thoughts into that one. And just look at our predictions. We all thought Ronda and Shayna were gonna retain. Which I was like, at least we have some kind of proper thoughts going into the match. But all at Waffles, I'll let you say a few things about that women's tag match at Money in the Bank.
Hello.
Well, yes, hello.
It's a cooking show. It was
What?
boring.
Speak up,
boring.
speak up into the mic.
I am by my mic. I'm literally swallowing this hoe.
But yeah, we all got that prediction wrong. So as of right now, we're all at 0 points still. And then again, JT is putting his title on the line, so he's defending his title. I actually need to move the title, so let me pull up OBS when Waffles joined the chat and move JT down. There we go. Hold on, people. Let's throw the title right there. There we go. All good. I pulled up my Gmail for some reason. I needed my Google Drive. But yeah, any other thoughts that you guys wanted to throw out there for that women's tag match?
No, I'm good.
Nope.
Yes, because it was
very
boring.
That's what it
was. Very indeed. Now, the next match I got is Cody versus Dominic Mysterio. I'll admit it was a short match. I don't didn't mind it. It was actually a pretty solid match of the classic slippery heel that likes to like slip away from a lot of the big moves against the big baby face of the company kind of type match. It was solid and like did their jobs well. I will admit I was expecting Brock Lesnar to show up to cost Cody the win because I have Cody as my prediction, but I was more thinking, oh, let's have Brock return and then screw him over just so they can for sure set up their match at SummerSlam, even though they already did that on Monday Night Raw. But it was like I figured that they would have done that, and again, I think the UK crowd would have even popped even bigger. But again, some people were saying, oh, because John Cena and Drew McIntyre had returned, I think those were like enough surprises that they would have done on the show. I'll pass it to our champion this time, JT. What were your thoughts on that match?
Which match was it one more time, man?
Cody versus Dominic.
Cody versus Dominic was kind of sloppy, but it was also, I think it was a good time for Cody to get, some experience with the main eventer. So I think the overall experience of it, testing him with the crowd, see if he's ready to, take his heel character to the next level as far as, feuding with some main eventers. Because if you have guys haven't noticed, Raw lacks heels. Like they lack top heels right now. Like they don't have anyone except for maybe Brock Lesnar, which is a part timer. You have Finn Balor. I mean, leader of Judgment Day. But outside of that, who do you have that could potentially feud with Seth Rollins as like the top guy, or not a top guy, but a top heel on the Raw roster? It's very scarce right now. So I mean, I think it's good experience wise for him to go up against Cody because I mean they could introduce him into a feud as they already are, as you saw on Monday, as a potential next rival for Seth Rollins. I don't think he's there experience wise. I mean, he doesn't have enough experience, but heel heat wise, I think it'd still be entertaining match between him and Seth. So I think that that gives him more experience with working with main eventers in a rabid crowd with a rabid crowd at that.
Oh, of course, I completely agree with you. It's good to like let him be more with the main event scene in a way, even though he's not ready to be a main eventer just yet. But at least get in the work with them, so he at least has the experience, build up chemistry. So I do agree with that. And he's already had like major goddamn heat on him, where everyone's just like booing him out of the building. But yeah, I do agree with you. There's not really like a top heel on Raw, other than like like say a Finn Balor, or you can even say Damian Priest too, since he has Money in the Bank. But all the things that's going on right now, what they're doing with the Judgment Day storyline, since they want to kill all the factions in WWE now, since one has just crumbled.
Plus, I mean,
Yeah,
what brand is Bobby Lashley on now? Is he on SmackDown?
yeah, he's on SmackDown.
But he's a
God,
face. He's for
yeah,
certain a face right
yeah,
now, right?
he's a face right now. I actually wouldn't mind if we still had it like a heel Bobby, because heel Bobby was really good. I mean, face
Right.
Bobby is good too, especially like the way how he like plays up to the crowd with his entrance, and then but yeah, I don't. I mean, what they could possibly do is like, because Gunther's also on Raw. Gunther's another top
Yeah, I forgot
heel,
about Gunther.
so it's like what they.
He'd have to drop the belt though. I don't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt you, my bad.
it's like that's where I'm thinking, and we'll probably get more into Gunther when we get to the Matt Riddle and Gunther match, because I have like ideas of what they could possibly do, especially with McIntyre returning. But I was like, he's like another top heel that you can throw in there. I would have said Kevin Owens, but his on his face phase with Sammy, because Kevin could be a good
Right.
heel too when he is a heel. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
there's
there's
not
slowly in
really
the Jackson right now.
a very lacking of the heels on Raw, because you just made me think of that. I was like, yeah, there's not really that many heels, and but they need to build up to that. Like I can even throw Bronson Reed out there if they can build him up, because he's an excellent wrestler. You just need to put him out there more on TV and build up his heelish thing. Because I know he's in a feud with Ricochet and Nakamura, even though Ricochet's more getting into a feud with Logan Paul now. But you can even
Right.
build up a guy like a Bronson Reed possibly to even go up against Seth. But
I know we're not on the topic yet, but this SummerSlam build is gonna look pretty interesting
mhm.
because you mentioned Logan Paul. That Logan Paul Ricochet match. It's gonna be a show stealer if that happens at SummerSlam, which it looks like it's gonna happen. Not to go off topic, we're gonna get to that in the Money in Bank match, but
Yeah, for sure. And then I'll pass the mic to Niners. What were your thoughts on the coding Dom? Like I know we're talking about like all these heels on Raw, but just to backtrack back to the main topic
No,
of the
I
match.
think it's again echoing kind of what JT said. I think this is a definite opportunity to see what Dominic can do. Um, he's obviously since his start in the WWE, he's come quite a long ways. To the point that now he is getting booed out of the building. He is kind of turning into that monster heel, but I still think there's not enough. I mean, there's heat on him, but there's not enough experience in his mind. Now, my opinion, and JT and I talked about this before we came on, I thought that this would be an opportunity for them to continue the downswing of Cody and get him similar to what they used to do and JT brought it up, what they did with Austin when he was trying to go against The Rock, and he
Right.
kept dropping matches, having more obstacles, and he had to fight his way back in. I thought that was kind of what they were going to do with Cody. So I thought Dom might actually take this one, but for Cody to win it, it needed to be how it was. It needed to be a little bit of a squash match. He needed to really come out. I thought Dom did a great job of selling a lot of the like the broken hand, and when he rips the cast or the splint off the hand, and all of a sudden he's healthy. I mean, we haven't seen that in quite a few years. We haven't seen him pull that stunt out in quite a few years. So I thought that was an excellent one. But then Cody hits move and wins it. And that's kind of what I expected coming out of it. But I just thought this is going to be interesting because I don't know what they're going to do with Cody. Because now they're kind of back into the Brock Lesnar feud. Dom is kind of moving up into the feud with Seth Rollins. And so it'll be interesting to see where they go from here with this. But I thought as the match went, I thought it was pretty straightforward. A few things that I think Cody or Dom is still learning how to have those great matches. And so Cody's obviously a good one to bring him along. I think Seth's a good one to bring him along. Seth tends to bring guys along pretty well too and have great matches with them. So I think it's a good move for him. But I wasn't surprised. This was my hardest pick to make because I wasn't surprised at Cody taking it, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they'd have had Dom beat him as well to kind of help drive Cody down a little bit further and have him have to work his way back up.
Well, that's why I figured if they were gonna have Dominic win, it was gonna be with shenanigans. That's why I figured Brock Lesnar was gonna return. But again, just like because John Cena and Drew McIntyre haven't returned, I was like, there's no need to put Brock on the goddamn card. And then but you have him attack Cody or interrupt Cody because they're teasing the whole Cody Seth doing it because they're like, they're the rivals that are destined to duel through the rest of their careers kind of thing. But I was like, again, I don't know what direction. Like I agree with you. I don't know what direction that they're doing with Cody because they're like, he hasn't faced enough adversity. I was like, I mean, but you just gave him another win. Like you made him win at Backlash, and then of course he lost at Night of Champions, and then you give him another win again and against Dominic at Money in the Bank, and then now you're gonna have him back into the field to finish the trilogy, which I'm hoping is a stipulation type match for SummerSlam. But I'm like, it's like, and he's probably gonna end up winning that one too. So it's like, what are they gonna do? Like a lot of people were, again, like we had talked about for our WrestleMania podcast, a lot of people had said like the parallels between him and John Cena when John Cena lost to The Rock in 2012. But it was like, it's basically the same thing because he's winning just like John Cena was winning. But I'm like, I really don't know. So then I'll pass it to Waffles if she's there to talk about her thoughts on the match and what they'll possibly do after this. Because again, they already had Brock return to fight with Cody, so they have that. Dominic again is slowly climbing up the card where he did have a title match on Monday too. So Waffles, I will pass the mic to you.
I don't know, honestly, because Cody he's just there at this point. Like, I don't think they know what they want to do with him. They're just setting up matches, like, that don't even make sense at this point. They really messed it up at WrestleMania, to be honest. So, that's it. It's like the match was kind of boring, also.
Yeah, let me go back to the predictions real quick. Alrighty. So from that match, I got a point, JT got a point, then Waffles got a point. Let me highlight that. And the Niners was the only one that chose Dominic. Again, not a bad choice because again they could have done shenanigans with this match and had Cody lose, which should have been honestly the right choice here. But again, people are like, "Oh, do you really want Cody to suffer back-to-back losses on pay-per-views?" kind of thing. But any other thoughts on that match?
Nope.
No.
No good thoughts.
But yeah, let's move on to match 3, which was I have Gunther versus Matt Riddle. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I was expecting this to be match of the night, even with the Money in the Bank ladder matches, and then of course the whole Bloodlines Civil War thing going on. I thought this was gonna be like the steal of the show, because Gunther and Riddle freaking back in the indie days when they were over there wrestling and stuff, they put on bangers and like they had some really good matches. So then I figured they would have done something almost similar to that here, but it was kind of a letdown. And it was a short match. I figured that the match would have been longer, but it was like I kind of understand why it was a short match, just so you can anticipate McIntyre's return, which again got the crowd popping. Like they had nice sequences during the matches, like they let Matt Riddle do a lot of his MMA background stuff to like try to fend off Gunther and stuff, do like doing all the submissions, try to wear them down, and then again the one thing was the whole lingering of Riddle's ankle, which Jesus, getting chopped at the ankle or the foot by Gunther. No, no. I wouldn't even want that if I had a healthy ankle. But it was an alright match. And I'll pass it back to Waffles to start it off on your thoughts of the entire match. And then, of course, your thoughts on McIntyre's return.
I thought it was gonna be a good match, honestly. And then just watching it, it was kind of like it was okay. It wasn't like exciting. I think they've had better matches in the past, but like yeah. And then at the end, it was like, oh okay. It was all leading to Drew McIntyre coming back, honestly. So kind of predictable.
Alrighty. And then I shall pass it to Niners. Your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I kind of expected so a couple things, and we brought this up a little bit. I know JT mentioned this, but I expect that they wanted to keep the title on Gunther until Drew got back, and that's gonna then I think they're gonna escalate Gunther up the chain to that top heel spot, um, and allow McIntyre to take the belt and then have that battle. I think Riddle was just a placeholder at this point. I don't think they even really wanted to do that match. If everybody would have been healthy going in, I think they would have probably tried to do another match with McIntyre and Gunther, and maybe McIntyre takes that one and then they start the move. But I could see that being a SummerSlam match where McIntyre will take the belt from him, maybe with Riddle's help, maybe without. But yeah, it seemed like a match that the buildup wasn't great. I didn't think, and I thought they kind of threw it together here and there. And then when these guys went out, to your point out, these guys have done great things in the past against each other, and it just seemed like they didn't give them a lot of time and they weren't going to give them the storyline here. So to me, it felt like a placeholder match. Like I said, and it was to reintroduce McIntyre, get the huge thunderous ovation when he appeared, and then have him do what he did. So for me, it was a necessary match because you didn't have either, as you said, neither woman defended their title. You needed titles to be defended on this pay-per-view. And so it felt like it was needed, but it just felt, like I said, a little bit of an overthought from WWE standpoint.
I very much agree with you. To our Sandlot Talks champion, JT, your thoughts on this match? And then, of course, McIntyre's
I have to.
return.
I agree with what you were saying, Alf. That this match, looking on the card, I mean, easily it says match of the night. Like just looking at the card going into it, especially with it taking place in Europe. I mean, it had match of the night written all over it, but it was disappointing. But I think it served its point of bringing back Drew McIntyre into the IC title scene. So that's what we're getting out of all that. It's the return of Drew McIntyre into that scene. And like Niners, go off of what Niners was saying, I think that's going to lead to a nice triple threat match between him, Matt Riddle, and then Gunther at SummerSlam. Also, where's Randy Orton at? I know he's there's been reports that his back surgery has been his recovery from his back surgery is completed. Do you reintroduce him as an ally to Riddle at SummerSlam, or do you wait till after that match? Because how are you gonna how are you gonna reintroduce Randy Orton and everything, or is he gonna go separate ways?
Well, I know next Monday what they're gonna do because when they had the little segment with Riddle and McIntyre, they're like, "Oh, let's fight Imperium next Monday," and McIntyre's like, "Sure, let's do that." So then I don't know if they're gonna do like a whole 3-on-2 handicap match, or if this is gonna be where they're gonna reintroduce Randy Orton into the scene. Because again, like you said, that he's recovered from his back surgery. I know Kurt Angle has talked to Randy Orton recently too, and he has given up positive updates that he's been progressing fine. So I don't know. I mean, this could be a good move because again, Rated RK Bro was a really good thing going on when they were a tag team on Raw. So I actually wouldn't mind if they try to plan something for Orton to return. Um, but yeah, that one is like, ooh. But I do agree with what Niner said. I think this is where they could possibly level up Gunther into Seth's title, and they could possibly do that. Though I feel like Gunther might win at SummerSlam though, because he's like, I believe, like 2 months away from having the all-time title reign record for the Intercontinental title. He's like he's like 60 something days from doing that. So I have another thing in the back of my head, like just like they did with Roman. They let Roman hit 1,000 days. I feel like they're gonna do the same thing with Gunther. Like, oh, we'll let him break the record, and then we'll elevate him to something. Like I can easily see him possibly fighting Seth Rollins at Mania if Seth Rollins is still the World Heavyweight Champion. Like I actually wouldn't mind that for WrestleMania, Gunther versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight. But yeah,
That'd be good.
they could do that. But again, I need to see more. Like again, we'll probably see what kind of a direction that they'll be doing. And then you have the whole thing going on with Drew McIntyre that he still hasn't, re-signed a new contract. So as of right now, that his contract will be ending around early 2024, which is somewhat a little bit before, or maybe even a little bit after WrestleMania 40. But so again, I don't know what the whole direction that they'll be going from this. But I wouldn't mind McIntyre having the Intercontinental title. It was the first title that he won when he first got to WWE. But any other thoughts going on to that one?
No more thoughts for me.
Nope.
I don't have any other thoughts.
Alrighty, then to look at two predictions. And we all chose Gunther, so that was a point for all of us. So just to backtrack right now, no one chose Liv and Raquel. JT, myself, and Waffles got 1 point from Cody. And then we all got 1 point from this Gunther match. So then, as of right now, JT, myself, and Waffles are tied at 2 with Niners at 1 point. And now we'll move on to the next match, which is actually the World Heavyweight title. So I'm actually pretty happy that I have that little segue that since we're already on the World Heavyweight title, we have Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. I'll admit, this match was like pretty like again, it was a short match. I figured that they would have given it more time on the card, but it's like, but again, you have to balance out having 2 ladder matches, and then of course you're gonna have Roman in the main event, and you're gonna at least give like 30 plus minutes to Roman because he's the top guy of your company. But I was expecting more. It was like I actually wouldn't have mind if Finn Balor had won this match. I will be honest with that one. I wouldn't have not mind that, because then it would have continued to whole play on to, especially with Damian Priest winning Money in the Bank, and they could have played on with that one. But I was expecting more of a better match, and especially if I was going to compare it to Seth Rollins when he was the Universal Champion when he fought AJ Styles in I believe it was 2019 Money in the Bank. That one was a really good match. So I was expecting I was going to get something like that. And then I'll pass it to Niners, and might as well, to say your thoughts on the match.
Yeah, so this is one that I remember the match that they had for the Universal title. When Balor beat him but got hurt. And so
SummerSlam
I was
2016.
huh?
SummerSlam 2016.
Yep. Yep. I remember watching that match, and that one was really what I thought was better match than this one. But I think they did a little bit of, at least from my opinion watching it, I think they protected each other a little bit more. They didn't go as all out as they did in the first one for that exact reason. You don't want somebody to come out of here hurt. I didn't see as where it was going to be time to pull that title off of Seth since he had just gotten it. So I expected I didn't expect Damian Priest to win the Money in the Bank. So I didn't expect that to be the storyline as they go forward. Had I gone with that assumption, then I would have probably gone with 100% with Seth winning it and then Damian Priest causing the distraction and starting this interesting combination here between all of the members of Judgment Day. But to that point, I don't know. I gotta imagine, to kind of the points we've talked about already up to this point, they don't have a good, like a massive heel on Raw to put the belt on, and that, as well as Rollins is getting over with the crowd right now, and as much as the crowd loves him, when he loses that belt, that's going to be just a massive. It's going to be a massive blow to the crowd. And so I think it'll be interesting. This one didn't surprise me. I could have seen it go. I could have seen it going either way. But it was fairly short, and I think exactly to Alf, to your point, you knew that the Bloodline feud was going to be, well, probably the longest bout of the entire night, because with intros and everything else, it was just going to be that way. Um, I did expect a little bit more interference, I will say, from the Judgment Day, because they've really been around this for the whole time, and I don't know, this build was, I liked the build going into it with Finn really reaching back to that 2016 match, and talking about how Seth cost him the a title run, and everything with him getting hurt. So that was good. I thought that was good. It just felt like they rushed the build so that they could have this match at Money in the Bank. Um, I think, again, as we move forward, we'll see when they get to SummerSlam if it's more of a how they end up running this one with Damian Priest holding the Money in the Bank contract. But from my standpoint, I think these guys have put on better matches together before. It just looked like it was a little bit undertoned, like maybe they wanted to take it a little bit easy and not, just to make sure nobody came out of it with an injury like Finn did last time.
I mean, I agree with you. I did really like the build to it. Again, like you were saying, with Finn Balor really feeding off that SummerSlam match. I'll admit there's one promo where the crowd really killed it, because I was like, because they were just doing the Seth song, and I was like, man, I want to hear what he got to say. I want to hear what he has to say, because it's like he's trying to do his best heel work right now. But yeah, again, I don't know what direction that they're gonna go into. If what I feel like what's gonna happen is either Finn Balor is most likely gonna maybe get kicked out of the group, or Damian Priest, because again they did that little tease again after the draft. Finn Balor was talking to JD McDonough, who got called up from NXT, and he was talking to him So it could be like a whole, oh, we're gonna kick out Damian Priest out of the group, and we'll switch him in with JD McDonough after this. That could be a thing, but again, that was like weeks ago, and like it feels like WWE completely forgot that they had filmed that little segment that they had with them, and so I don't know what kind of direction that they'll go from there. So now I'll pass it to JT on your thoughts of the Seth Rollins versus Balor match at Money in the Bank.
I thought it was good, but it wasn't on the level of their first match from SummerSlam 2016. Because mostly, I mean, I don't know if they're gonna like do another installment in this feud at SummerSlam. You know, revisiting the feud. 7 years later. Um, and incorporating the demon version of Seth, or not Seth, but Finn. But it's gonna be interesting to see how that turns out with Damian winning the Money in Bank and have the Money in Bank contract. See if he's gonna have a influence on the next match that they do on the rematch. But I predict. I thought it was okay. It was a solid match until the ending. The ending will kind of threw off everything, which is going to lead to bad blood between Damian and Finn as we are dealing. Or one moment, dude. My bad. I had you echoing in my other tab. My bad. Um, so we had the fallout of that match, and now you see there's bad blood built between him and Damian. And so, I mean, that's going to lead to a lot of chemistry issues with the Judgment Day, which I was speaking with Niners earlier in regards to that may lead to the breakup of that faction. If not breakup, maybe Damian become the leader, or him leaving the group become a face, or Finn, leaving the group and going on his own. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that falls out and how that influences the next match between if there's going to be another match between him and Seth. But I thought the match overall was like maybe a B minus. I thought they could have done a lot. I thought they could have done a little bit better in the ring, but they definitely had their better matches. But it wasn't a bad match. It's just I didn't like the ending of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on the ending. The ending was a little with when you have Priest stand up from sitting on the chair, then Balor gets all distracted, like it's like, oh, like what are you doing, kind of thing. So I do agree with you. The ending was a little for me too. Waffles, if you were there, your thoughts on the Seth Rollins versus Balor?
It was there was a lot of story there, like with Seth Rollins and all of that. But I should, if they're gonna do Finn Balor, I mean not Finn Balor, Damian Priest and cash it in, they should have just cashed it in, like upset everyone. Honestly, that would have been like the gag. Honestly, if they did that, be like, oh, well, okay, you know, they should have just he should have just cashed it in and then had like a whole feud and SummerSlam and then get it back. You know, you're like you dumb bitch. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's okay. It's good.
I mean, I don't. Well, with cash-ins, I don't mind. Like, oh, they're gonna do the whole cash-in at the same night because we did have some good moments with some same night cash-ins. But then again, what they're trying to do right here with this, with Damien winning, he's gonna hold it on for a while. Maybe tease it again. If, like, say if they do have a rematch at SummerSlam, they could even again do the whole same thing with Damian Priest. Tease that he might cash it in just to maybe screw Finn Balor again. But again, I don't really want to I really don't want to see that again just because they already did it. Um, but I have a feeling that he's going to hold it onto that briefcase for a little while. Um, Probably shorter than usual, but he's going to hold it on for a little while. But yeah, any other thoughts on this match?
I think there's a lot
Um,
of directions they can go from here, and it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do.
Oh, for sure. It's just like, how are they going to progress through these next 3 to 4 weeks for SummerSlam is how they're gonna do this. And then just look at predictions. We all chose Seth Rollins. And then so yeah, points to all of us. Right now I have the Civil on the prediction sheet. I have the Civil War next, but I kind of want to save that last if you guys don't mind. I'd rather talk about the Money in the Bank ladder matches, just because we're already on topic of Damian Priest. So
Agree.
So I rather save the Civil War for last, because again, that's like probably like especially at the ending, like the most talked thing about going on in WWE, which again with SmackDown going to be happening soon, probably one of the most anticipated SmackDowns in a while. So I'm gonna save the Civil War for the last. So we're gonna get into the Money in the Bank, and then the way how I set it up for predictions, I gave each of us 2 picks, and then our first pick was our first initial pick, and then I was allowing people to have a dark horse pick. If our dark horse pick won, that was going to be half points compared to the 1 full point that we had. So we'll talk about the men's ladder match first, just because we're already talking about Damian Priest. Men's ladder match. Oh boy, I'm actually happy that it opened Money in the Bank, just so you can get the crowd going hot, especially when you have the most over man in the match. Even more over compared to like say Cody, because everyone is literally hopping on this LA Knight train, which we all chose LA Knight for our first picks. Just look at our predictions. I was like, I'm not. I was like, it pissed me off that he didn't win, but then you have to look at it from like the outside the box. Like realistically, with Damian Priest, he has more direction in storyline what he could do with the whole Money in the Bank compared to an LA Knight. Because I mean, again, LA Knight could still cash it in on Rollins, because I don't think there's no way in hell that anyone would let LA Knight cash in on Roman to drop the titles. So like I was mad at first, but then I was like, oh, okay, fine. I'm fine with Damian Priest winning it. But I really enjoyed the match. It was a little annoying that Logan Paul was in there, but again, he's like the wrestler that's really good, that doesn't really need to do much. Well, I don't know how much training he actually puts into wrestling, because again, he usually shows up on the bigger pay-per-views, or even a possible pay-per-view when it's international, like Money in the Bank here. He's gonna be on SummerSlam, of course, probably feud with Ricochet, but for the most part, it was a really good match. I know there was that little botch spot with Ricochet and Logan Paul, which is setting up their SummerSlam feud. But I really like the match overall. Like again, it's a good way to start off a pay-per-view like Money in the Bank, just to get the crowd excited. Niners, I'm gonna pass it back to you on your thoughts on the men's Money in the Bank ladder match.
Yeah, a couple things stood out for me in this one. And I think you touched on it. Logan Paul, for a guy who wasn't like didn't really come up in the wrestling business, he has done some crazy stuff. I'm looking at a picture right now of the splash he did on Damian Priest on the ladder. Like that's ridiculous. There's people, there's wrestlers that have been doing this for years that wouldn't do that spot. And he's done multiples of those spots, as we've seen throughout different different events. But for me, the biggest thing I thought, I did enjoy the match. I always enjoy the Money in the Bank. The only one I wasn't as enthused about was a couple years ago when they did it, all having to fight their way up Titan Tower to the roof, and that one had a lot of comedy in it, so that one was all right from that standpoint. But this one, no, I thought there was a ton of good spots. They set up a lot of good things, and for me, I it really did look like LA Knight was going to have it, but the swerve there at the end with Priest coming and getting it, and I think as you've stated and as we talked about during the previous match, I think there's some opportunities here. You could make Priest face. You could leave him heel and have him be a mega heel because he kicks Balor out of Judgment Day and takes it over, or any number of things. I think there's some options with him, and I think they can continue to build uh, his character. And if you look at all of them, LA Knight would have been really good, I think, as that holds the Money in the Bank contract for a long time and teases it and comes out. But I think he would have teased both shows. I think with Priest, you really are going to have him on Raw going after Rollins or whoever ends up with that title. So all in all, I thought it was a good match, and I knew I put LA Knight down for my top. I believe I put Priest down as my dark horse, but um, he was my number two as far as who I thought would end up winning the match. And I could be completely wrong because I filled that out and my brain is a little bit
Oh
fried.
no,
So
I'll let you know right now. Your dark horse is Logan Paul, which it's a good dark horse pick because
it's a
again,
dark horse.
a lot of people thought he could have won too, but I'm happy that he was more of the swerve in the match because he was the
Yeah,
guy that could possibly win it and just to piss off a lot of people. But again,
correct. I
it
thought he
was
would have
more of
been
the
the thumb in the
swerve.
nose,
Mm-hmm.
at the fans with giving him that.
But,
But I think he and Ricochet will put on a heck of a match
oh,
at
for sure.
SummerSlam.
But man, not you ragging on the 2020 Money in the Bank. Come on now.
I enjoyed it for the comedy that it was, but from as far as the Money in the Bank, it just was so convoluted, and there was a lot of great spots in it, but it was just I don't know. It didn't sit well with me.
The best spot in the world of Baron Corbin throwing Rey Mysterio off the building.
Yeah, there. Thank you.
Though they
is
said no, they landed on like the next level balcony below them, so
yeah.
that's why
It's
they're
not the
still
way they showed
alive.
it though.
But to JT, our champion, what were your thoughts on the men's Money in the Bank ladder match?
Overall, I thought it was a pretty stellar match. I like the spots they pulled off, and like Caduce and Logan Paul were going through with the spot with Ricochet. I thought Ricochet did a very good job protecting him with that fall, but what Niner was saying, at his level, he's been wrestling for WWE for what a year and a half, and like sporadically, he has a lot of bravery and confidence to be pulling off moves that like people who've been in business for 10 to 15 years don't ever pull off. So I have to commend him on his efforts in the ring as well as the spots he's been pulling off. Like every match he does, he typically has like a table spot he goes through effortlessly. When there's people who, I mean, like for the last 10 to 15 years in the careers, would never do a high spot like that, high risky spot like that. So I commend him for stepping up to the challenge of being being a WWE superstar seriously. So I commend him for that, and also the match itself in general was a pretty good match. They had a lot of good spots in there involving. I think they did a good job balancing out the match with all the participants of the match, and I'm pretty happy with the outcome of that match. I think I predicted Shinsuke Nakamura as winning, which I kind of just threw that one out there. I didn't think he honestly did not. I thought that I mean since he's just now coming back after being out for so long, I think that would be a good addition of having him have the Money in the Bank. But as far as storyline purposes, I think it fits better for Damian to have the Money in the Bank contract over him because Damian, he's second in line for the Bloodline, not the Bloodline, the Judgment Day, and he had that big match with Bad Bunny. I mean, he's had some pretty good matches in the spotlight. So I mean, he's ready for that next step of becoming a main eventer. So I think he'd benefit more with having the Money in the Bank contract over anyone else on the that was in that match. So definitely looking forward to seeing what they're gonna do with that heading into SummerSlam. But I like the men's match. I give it maybe a minus as far as on the grading scale.
Yeah, it was a solid match. And then just to confirm, again, we all chose LA Knights for our first pick. JT, you did choose Shinsuke. Me and Waffles chose Damian Priest. And the Niners had Logan Paul as their dark horse. And then on to Waffles. What were your thoughts on the men's Money in the Bank match?
Uh, so actually, I was asleep during this one. But I saw some clips and all of that. I was like, oh, like the botch of Logan Paul, and it was a Ricochet, right? Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. And then I definitely wanted, okay, I really wanted LA Knight to win this, but Damien Priest had to win it. But it's whatever, I guess. But honestly, I wanted LA Knight to win it. But it was an okay match. It was a good match. It wasn't like spectacular, but it was decent enough where it's like, okay, I was like happy with the outcome.
I will say, just to add on to this match, I did like the camera work of this because, again, when they tease the whole LA Knight climbing the ladder, and then you just see this hand come out of nowhere, and it's Damien Priest. I did like the camera work right there, and it's literally just gonna become a GIF now, or GIF, whatever people want to call it. But I did like the camera work in that match too. And then again, a lot of the spots, I was like, man, I will say they got some really strong ladders this year because I was like, none of them ladders were not giving in to any of those spots. Like I figured the ladder would have broke when Logan Paul did the splash on Priest, but I was like, no. I was like, that one survived. And then same with when Ricochet did another spot. I believe who was on the ladders. It was like Shinsuke and Santos Escobar. They were laying on top of the ladder after they had bridged it with the main ladder in the middle of the ring, and then I believe Ricochet, was it a shooting star press? He did some kind of move off the top rope, and I figured that would have broke too, but I was like, nope. But again, I really enjoy this match. Really solid. Again, we all wish it was LA Knight, but oh well. Um, but just to look over the predictions, Waffles and I get half a point from that because of our dark horse picks of Damian Priest. And there, we shall move on to the women's Money, the big match, which I'll say was honestly better than the men's. I will say that because the women really showed out and said, "Nah, we're gonna outdo the men this year." Because for me, I felt like the women's ladder match hasn't been like on the level as the men, but I think this year like really like I think this is where the tables have turned now because I really enjoyed this, especially with EO. EO had some really good spots. Like I liked both handcuff spots that EO did. Or no, Becky had a handcuff spot because she dragged Bailey down by the handcuff. Though I wish the handcuff had stayed in Bailey's mouth the entire time. And then you have EO using the handcuffs to cuff both of them just so she can win money in the bank. I did like that. But it was very interesting because honestly, any of them in the match honestly could have won. Because even Selena Vega, because I know Selena Vega hasn't been really doing much since her match with Rhea Ripley, but she was like a sleeper pick that they could have done too. But I felt like it was gonna be EO because again, just like with LA Knight, EO's just been really climbing with the crowd, getting a lot of pop, especially when you guys watch. If anyone had watched Backlash, she was getting more babyface pop compared to Bianca Belair. Um, but yeah, I think yeah, honestly could have went to anyone except for Zoe Stark. And I'll say that just because it's still a little too early for her. I want her to like grow and develop more. It would have been more of the factor that she would have continued just to help Trish get the money in the bank briefcase. Again, that's how I see it. But like I said, Annie could have won it. Becky could have even won that too if they had wanted Becky to win. Who else was in there? Again, I said Trish. Bailey could have even won it too. But I think it was a really good for Io to win it, just so they can, again, because they like to break up their factions all of a sudden now. They can start the whole thing with then damage control. So I'll pass it to Niners again on your thoughts of the women's ladder match.
Oh, you hit a couple of the points that I was going to make too. I think the handcuff spots I thought were well done. Like you said, other than the handcuff coming out of Bailey's mouth, that was hilarious. And then for EO to use that handcuff to basically win the match, that just was a big part of it for me. I thought looking at your possible winners, and I'm gonna tangent here real quick because this is the first time I've been on here for wrestling podcast. Um, I want to get I'm gonna ask a question, and when I am done, then I want to get your guys' opinion so you have a chance to think about this. Am I the only one that thinks they're turning Zelina Vega into Sasha Banks? Think about that.
That's a good point. I think they may be
Yeah.
going that route, but she's not
Yes.
solid. She has the look, but she doesn't have the athletic ability and storytelling ability of
Yeah.
Sasha.
Correct, but they're doing the look. It's starting to become the same ring gear, the blue hair. It to me. That's I've seen that the last couple pay-per-views. That it's like, man, they're moving her that direction.
She's a beautiful woman, and she's got the look and the build for her. Like she has a similar build to Sasha, maybe a little bit shorter, but same build, like the rippedness of their body and everything like that. But Sasha's a top 10 women's wrestler of
Yeah,
all time.
yep.
Xena, she has a ways to go until she's on that level.
No, and I agree with you. I found it funny here the last couple pay-per-views as especially when she was down in Puerto Rico. But anyway, so as far as this match goes, yeah, I was I thought this might have been the most wide open as far as not having a true other than I thought Zoe. I really didn't think Becky was going to get it because they put such an emphasis on what's the one thing she hasn't done yet. And I thought Trish then was the other one because that's kind of a really good storyline with the three of them going right now. So I didn't see that. I thought Bailey or Io just because it helps kind of continue to drive that wedge into damage control, which they've been teasing over and over. And I don't know if they'd have pulled the trigger if Dakota hadn't gotten hurt, but with her hurt and only having two of them, I think they're at that point where I think that'd be a good feud between the two of them. Um, but I think Bailey is manipulative enough, and they could do some things with that to help her try and steal the briefcase from Io before it's all said and done. But no, I was fine with really with whoever came out on top on this one. I thought they did some really good spots and did there was quite a few good things that the women did that, like you said, I think this was the better of the two matches this year. It was a little more wide open. It wasn't as closed off that you're down to about two people who are going to take it. Um, but yeah, all in all, I thought it was good, and I think there's some definite stories that can be told from here on out.
I will say there's a whole lot of superstition going on when it comes to when you're building up to the Money in the Bank match, when they're cutting their promos like on Raw, SmackDown stuff, and the other briefcases hang in. Some people had always brought up when say because we saw with Becky and even Butch. I'm just gonna say Pete Dunne because it's easier for me to remember Pete Dunne. They both, after they got into like their little scuffles with the other participants and Logan Paul too, they all climbed up the ladder and in a way like had grabbed the briefcase, not unhook it, but they at least like like touched it and like pointed at it or whatever. But a lot of people are saying like once they're doing that, they're definitely not going to win Money in the Bank. So it's interesting how that actually like came to fruition. Because again, we saw Becky do that; she didn't win. I don't know if anyone else part of the women's ladder match had did that, but yeah, it was really interesting. And then to answer your whole Sasha Banks question, yeah, sure, I'll agree with you. I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh man, is that Sasha Banks during the Puerto Rico match?" Because I know Waffles did that.
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know
that
what
was the
you're
one
talking
that
about.
that was the one that stood out for me, was that match. When she came out, I'm like, that's like ring gear, the look, it's so much in that line of what Sasha did when she first came in. But she doesn't have the history that Sasha did. So yeah, that's a big part of that.
And then I will pass it to Waffles. Your thoughts on the women's ladder match?
I like that. It was so good. Uh, it was better than the men's for sure. For sure. Um, yeah, I just thought there was a lot of like action happening, and it was so fast paced, but it was also very like detailed in what they were doing. It was like, oh, Trish and Becky are doing this, and then what's her name? Uh,
Zoe Stark.
Zoe Stark, yeah, comes in, and then it's like Zelina. I was, oh my god, I want Zelina to win so bad. It would have been my underdog, honestly. But Sky did amazing. Like Zelina and Io had like the honestly like the two most memorable spots in the match, honestly. And it was really nice to see that they got that spotlight. Yeah, I have a lot to say about this one.
Mm. I will say this: was anyone scared about Trish Stratus getting injured at all during this match? Because
Yeah,
I was,
she wasn't gonna
Yep.
defend the
I was
tag.
a
She
little
was defending the
concerned.
Wednesday.
I was like, oh my god, please be careful with her, please.
When she
No,
did that
she's
handstand into the
indestructible.
ladder, go ahead. My bad, Waffles.
Oh, I was like, no, she's indestructible at this point. Like she's gone through everything.
She somehow still came out with a broken nose. That's kind of crazy.
I
Even though
do,
she
I
was
do
holding
like the
it safely.
callback though that she brought back the mask because she did do that
Ye-
whole wearing the mask thing like years back.
Right in
So
the
I do like
Yep.
the
2005 match.
callback.
Yeah, that was her best heel. That was her best heel run. So it's nice to see that she's incorporating in that with their current run that she has going on.
But yeah, very solid performance. I mean, from everyone, especially Io Sky. Io had like a lot of good spots. Like she had the moonsault off the ladder and stuff. Like again, she like did really good. And just
Io and Zoe were very impressive in that match.
mm-hmm.
Like I was very impressed for Zoe, her progress just moving up from NXT. Already already set to go. Like she can go one on one with Becky Lynch already and hold her own in a match. So I mean, I like her being paired with Trish. Having that mentorship with Trish to guide her through her journey on the main roster. So that's gonna be nice. I wouldn't even object to seeing her go up against Trish as the one of the events of SummerSlam or not. Hold on, just a second, guys. I do not object seeing Zoe and Becky going at it at SummerSlam. I think that would be a
I
solid
mean, I
match.
wouldn't, I wouldn't
But
mind
Yeah.
that either. But I know for sure they're gonna try to finish this whole Becky and Trish feud at SummerSlam maybe, and then and maybe they'll give Trish time off just to like let her recuperate and rest, and then they'll probably maybe even continue with Zoe Stark maybe. But
Zoe versus Lita. I'm kidding.
well, I mean, I will say like my prediction for that one is like I'm pretty sure we might even see Lita return at SummerSlam just to fend off Zoe Stark to say if they do have their Trish versus Becky have their well it's technically their second match because they're one-on-one I should say, but that would be my prediction. I can see Lita helping out Becky again to fend off Zoe, and then
Yeah.
looking at our predictions again, I had Io. I went with Io as my first pick, so I get 1 full point. um Waffles had chose Zelina Vega with her first pick, and then chose Trish with her dark horse. Niners, you get a point because you also chose Io. And then JT chose Bailey with your dark horse being Trish. So then, before we,
Sorry. Trying to burp.
But yeah, I really enjoyed both ladder matches. But again, I really enjoyed the women's. Again, I really love the women's ladder match. Any other thoughts to put into the women's ladder match?
I don't have any other thoughts. I thought all the participants did a solid job. I would say that this year's women's match was definitely better than men's, just a little bit. But I commend both the men and the women's for putting on a solid Money in the Bank match for this year's version of Money in the Bank.
Any other thoughts?
I agree 100% with that.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. Let's get to the main event, the big match, the storyline that's been going on for almost 4 years. We got the Bloodline Civil War match between Roman and Solo versus the Usos. I will admit, going into it, it could have went either way, because with what I'm trying to say here is if they could have still had lost, but they could have still continued to set up Jay versus Roman at SummerSlam. Because the Usos could have taken the loss, and then my thinking is that they could have done what they did at Royal Rumble, like after they had finished Kevin Owens, they still went on to continue and beat up on him, and then Sammy intervened, and then we got the whole biggest pop of the night. They could have done something similar to that, where they just beat down on Jimmy, and then you just have Jay just completely snap on Roman, just to set up their match. But I'll admit, I'm actually pretty happy with what we got. It's a classic Roman match. It's gonna be a very slow build type of match. He's gonna play up to the crowd, and I'm actually do like that he does play up to the crowd, because it gets the crowd more into the match. It's like, I know it's like a big complainer, like, oh, it's a slow, like a very slow burn in the beginning, but then it's like, oh, once you hit one big spot, that's where the match starts to pick up more. And then, I mean, at least the crowd, like I will say, in the first half of the match, the crowd did save the match with all the chanting that they were doing, and the chants that they were doing to annoy Roman. Like, I really like that, because again, it shows Roman like continuing to descend into his own kind of madness that he is, that he's the Mad King of his tribe, and that they're trying to portray here. But overall, I really enjoyed the match, especially that once they hit their one big spot and started picking up things. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, but the super kicks can be a little bit of annoying, because that's all the Usos have mainly done to like for their most offense and stuff." But again, I mean, that's one of their main signatures. Rikishi used to hit the super kick a lot too, but I'm like, no one complains about that. But I really enjoyed this match, and I shall pass it to JT, our champion, on his thoughts of this match.
Match, was a typical Roman Reigns match. Starts off slow, pretty methodical, plays with the crowd. All those good elements, of a typical Roman Reigns match. He's got better over the last 3 years playing to the crowd as a heel and controlling, having the crowd's emotions and his facial reactions to what's happening in the match. Did a very good job, with the story building and telling the story in the ring. But also, I mean, from all participants, they all did a solid job, telling the story. From Solo Sikoa, him going at it, and then and then Roman Reigns like tagging himself back in and say, "Hey, it's my time. I want Jay," and then just the body language of the match, and also like the little the throwbacks to like even when they try to do like the double pin or pin both wrestlers or both of his cousins at the same time, which was a nod to his win at WrestleMania. Which one was it? Was it 37? WrestleMania 37.
I believe so. I believe it's 37.
And
Yes.
Daniel Bryan at the same time, and then he couldn't. They both kicked out. But the storytelling on the match was pretty good. I would say it already is a match of the year candidate. You already got so many match of the year candidates, but as far as on the tag team side of things, I don't know if I rank it above the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn versus the Usos match for the night one main event of WrestleMania 39. I don't know if it's better than that match or if it's that match is better than this match. But both of them phenomenal storytelling and spots, full of spots in the build. I mean, no one saw Roman. I mean, like you said, it could have gone either way. But I don't think anyone saw Roman Reigns being pinned as the conclusion of the match. Maybe like Sokoa taking the fall, but Roman, it's kind of crazy how like he looked scared, like how he sold, how he was like, "What am I gonna do? My muscle was gone. My muscle's down. Both I'm left defenseless against two my cousins, you know, and they just did the double super kick, and then Jay finished him off the splash. No one predicted that happening. They thought it was gonna be a typical Roman Reigns match where after he hits the spear after the exchange that they hit the signature, the Superman punch, and then Jay hit his signature, and then Roman hit him with a spear, and then Jay out of nowhere, kicked out of it, and in the process of that, he hit him with a low blow. They capitalized off of that to take advantage of the match, and then also the table spot with Sikoa missing the splash on the Jimmy. I mean, I could have kind of predicted the table spot, but the conclusion of the match, I did not see that coming. No one would have predicted that this is the way that the 3-year streak of Roman not being pinned or submitting in a match would have ended this way on this level of pay-per-view, because Money in the Bank is one of the more it's an important pay-per-view in the lineup of pay-per-views they have, but it's not one of the big four. It's not SummerSlam, it's not Survivor Series, it's not WrestleMania, it's not Royal Rumble. It's not one of those big four events. So, I mean, but it's kind of interesting how they decided that Money in the Bank would be the overseas will be the time that Roman would take the fall. That streak would be broken. So now the whole world knows he's vulnerable. So if he doesn't have anyone that can aid him in a match, you can beat him. I mean, now the door is open going into SummerSlam that this guy is beatable. He no longer has his cousins to do his dirty work. And if you eliminate Sikoa, as people saw, kind of in the WrestleMania main event of night 2 between him and Cody Rhodes, you take him out the equation, you can beat him. So now, I mean, he's not invincible anymore. Roman Reigns is human after all. The tribal chief can be taken down. So I mean, now going into that, it's going to lead to an interesting, few weeks into the build of SummerSlam. So I'm kind of interested to see where they go, especially with tonight's. They're doing the trial of Roman Reigns thing that they're doing, and it's kind of see how he cooperates with that heading into that main event for tonight's SmackDown. So it's going to be interesting to see how that folds out. But very good match. Very good match. Easily top match of the night. Match of the year candidate for sure. Top 10 matches of the year. But I'm kind of interested to see where they go with this. But obviously, it's going to lead to a Jay versus Roman Reigns main event for SummerSlam.
For sure. And then before I pass it on to my other guest, Sonny, I know you had to dip real quick to handle some things. Thank you for the raid. Appreciate that. Carla, Danger, Geo, thank you guys for popping in. Do you guys appreciate that? And Poe, thank you for shouting out. Danger, can you also shout out Sonny for me, please, too, for that raid? I do appreciate that. But I mean, again, very excellent points that you made, JT. And again, throughout the match, they did a lot of callbacks too, because again, when Jay did the low blow kick out, Roman did that to him in their Clash of Champions match back in 2020.
Right.
So there's the callback right there. Again, I did like the whole thing that they're playing on when after they had kicked out of that stack pin, and you see Roman crying, losing it. Then you just have Solo like looking at him like what are you doing? Like you're the leader of this. Like, why aren't you like taking charge? And then you see Solo, start walking in and start beating up more on the Usos, and you see Roman be like, yeah, like, oh, yeah, let's do that. Let's just keep, beating down on them, kind of thing. But Niners, I'm gonna pass the mic to you on your thoughts of the match as well.
No, it was going into the pay-per-view, this is the one I wanted to see. I mean, it was everything I expected, more than I expected. I think, to JT's point, and he and I did have that conversation prior to going on today, is that there's no way anyone thought Roman was getting pinned. I don't even remember who I picked in this one, but if I had picked the Usos, it was because I thought there would be a DQ or something. Something would happen that would basically, Roman was not taking that pin, whether Sikoa took the pin or they got DQ'd or something. This is an interesting next step, and I think, Al, you hit on it as well. Some of the reactions by Solo in this match, you wonder at what point does he decide he needs to be the guy. And the Usos said it, that they would support him as the new tribal chief. It's like, okay, at what point does he decide, yeah, that's a good idea, I'm going to make that move? I don't think it happens at SummerSlam, because I think you're going to have Roman and Jay. I think you're going to see this a little bit back and forth with those guys, with Solo still in Roman's corner, but I think you'll see Solo starting to move out a little bit. JT hit it though perfectly on the head. The storytelling in this match was top notch. This is everything you expect from the buildup of the whole bloodline. I think when Sammy turned, you could kind of see that coming. You could see that indecision in his part. But this one, with the pinfall and everything else, I was amazed. I was shell shocked. The meme that you see with the guy after the Undertaker gets beat at WrestleMania by Brock Lesnar, that was my face after this match. I'm like, there's no way he's kicking out. There's zero chance he's taking this pin, and then he took it. Like, so tonight, I think, is going to be really an interesting next step in this feud and how they build it. It was really, it's been, overall, with this whole kind of storyline with the bloodline moving forward here, this has been a great storytelling. It's been honestly, I think, one of the best things that WWE has done in years from a storytelling standpoint. If you look back at where it started and kind of how we got to this point. But nope, the match itself, I thought, was great. You had enough callbacks to old matches that the people, the fans that have been around for a while, that have seen some of this, knew what they were seeing. Some callbacks to some of the things that Rikishi did, that Umaga did. Just a lot of that callback stuff that I like as a fan who's been around a while and has watched quite a bit of wrestling. But all in all, I think this is an interesting time to pay it off, as JT said, and as he and I talked about. I think it was just really an interesting pay-per-view, and as opposed to doing it at SummerSlam, holding off for another couple months and then doing it there. But I'll be interested tonight to see what they do with this, because I think the iron is definitely hot right here. They've got more than enough opportunities to go in different directions. You don't want to see him drop the ball on this, and I think you mentioned it, or maybe JT mentioned it, but to see where Roman's come from, I just saw the video earlier this week when Cena kind of punked him in the promo. To see where he's at now, it's just amazing, the growth that he's put in here in the last few years. So I'm excited to see how they move forward with this, and I think, like I said, there's some options to bring other bloodline other family members in for maybe a one night or a couple nights. I think there's still some more additions to be done here, but I'm just kind of assuming that you're going to see eventually Solo will walk, whether he walks and costs Reigns the match, or he walks and ends up being the one to take the titles off him, or the title off him. Which, by the way, I'd like to get your guys' opinion too. I am tired of seeing 3 titles. Let's just get rid of the other 2. I understand why Paul Heyman does it, but let's get rid of it and just have one belt, so that I can quit seeing 14 different titles for one championship.
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, again, we all
There's
know
no
why Paul
point. I
Heyman
mean,
crows.
it's just like, if you're keeping around so it looks like for aesthetic purposes. I mean, you merged the belts already. I mean, the new gold belt is for the belts to be merged together. So what's the point of keeping the others 2 around?
Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. Just get rid of him. I feel like they'll for sure get rid of him when he drops the title. So we're gonna keep seeing Paul Heyman walk out with the other two for a while until he feels like dropping it. Again, that's why when you bring back the World Heavyweight or their version of the World Heavyweight, again, if the whole thing in the long run is to do a rematch of Cody versus Roman at Mania 40, have Cody win, have him bring back some version of the Winged Eagle title. If you gotta slap the big WWE logo on it, fine, just do it. Just bring back a better design than what we got right now, because I don't like the whole. I like the World Heavyweight design.
The
I
big
like it,
logo, yeah,
but
kind of
I don't
corny.
like the whole big logo. And then you just have, oh, it's special because it has a gold plating behind the W kind of thing. So, no, I hate it. Um, to pass it on to Waffles now for your thoughts on this match.
uh, I was okay. Keep in mind, I just like woke up, okay, and I was, this match. I was like, damn, this match is so long. I was like getting annoyed. I was like, can they just like beat Roman at this point, But then rewatching it, I was like, oh wait, this match is pretty good. It's like, oh, you know, they keep kicking out, and then Roman gets frustrated, and Solo comes in, and he's like, I'm gonna spike you with my fucking thumb and then throw. And then Roman's here like crying about it. And then the crowd is telling him like he's a bad person. And then it's like you're feeling the crowd. And then you're like, oh my god, can you just like end the match at this point? Like it's getting a little too long now. And then the Usos come in, they regain consciousness all of a sudden, and they pin Roman, and it's like, oh, period. This is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see Roman cry like a little baby. Yeah, went PG there. I was about to say something else, but I stopped myself. But Roman, yeah, he lost. I liked it overall.
I will say this: what do you guys' thought on that combo finisher, the Samoan Spike and Spear? Oh man, that's a pretty good combo, especially
It
when
looked
you
like it
do
was
the
gonna work.
timing
It does
right.
look pretty
That's
interesting.
where I thought the match was gonna end. I was like, oh, here it is, because then that's when they started to do the stack callback. So that's where I thought the match was gonna end. And then again, kick out. You have the biggest pop right there during the match when they do that, and of course, the big pop of Roman pinning. Again, I don't.
Those Usos resilient.
Again, I don't know where exactly what they'll do after Jay, because again, we'll for sure get another Jay versus Roman at SummerSlam, but I don't know what they'll do after that. They brought back the Payback pay-per-view now, and that's where Roman had won the title back in 2020 when he beat Braun Strowman and the Fiend Bray Wyatt. Um, some people are saying that, oh, he could possibly lose it there, but do you really want him to lose it at I don't want to call it a B level pay per view, because most of these pay per views that WWE have been putting out have been very good. Again, that's mainly because we're in international um, areas. But again, we have SummerSlam in Detroit at Ford Field. We have Payback, which is going to be in Pittsburgh. And then, from what I was reading, and this was like a couple weeks ago, that they'll be doing a show in India that was also supposed to be taking place in September. But I don't know if they have scrapped those plans yet. And then, of course, I think they haven't said anything about October, but they did announce for today that Survivor Series will be back in Chicago for that one. I'm hoping that they still do War Games for that year.
I think they're doing War Games again this year.
I hope so. I hope so. But again, I don't know what they'll be doing. Because again, if the Bloodline was still together, I wouldn't mind them still going back in the War Games match. But again, I just don't know. I kind of don't want Cody to win the Royal Rumble again. to face
Uh,
Roman.
he doesn't have to win it.
I feel like
I'm on
they
Elimination Chamber.
well they could do that because what I'm trying and what they'll probably be doing like later on down the road is that they'll do their whole superstar shakeup, and then that's where they'll move Cody to SmackDown to be on the same brand as Roman, and then just like how you said, they'll do the whole elimination chamber thing. Because again, my thing, if they're gonna elevate Gunther to the main title status, have him win the Royal Rumble and face Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight, and then boom, because
Yeah,
again
I think the
that's what I'm
other thing,
cooking in the long run.
you know, the other thing I think they need to do, and this is again calling back to what they did with Austin and during that run he had to get back to the Rock, is you need to have Cody be one of the last two people in the Rumble, and he needs to get beat by somebody you wouldn't think he should get beat by. I don't know who that person is.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know who that is, but it needs to be something like like Mr. McMahon was when he knocked out Austin, took him out of the Rumble. I'm like, nobody expected it.
Right.
It it's not going to lead to a huge thing. Yeah, it's not a huge storyline, but he needs to then find a way to fight back and get back to WrestleMania and get back into the title picture. That's where I would like to see him go with Cody, because I think he fits that underdog role, and he would have the fans behind him for that entire run.
It'll be very interesting, especially again we have SmackDown tonight in like about 40ish minutes. I don't know when they'll be doing the whole Roman trial, but again, that will be the most anticipated segment in SmackDown in a while, and they'll be in Madison Square Garden. So I'm really hoping the New York crowd there is very amped up and can get to Roman too. And then again, I'm hoping that we get to see guys like Rikishi, the Wild Samoans, and the other ones. Maybe The Rock, wink, wink, will make an appearance. But yeah, that'll be very anticipated. Just to look at our predictions again, and I've been keeping score as well. Um, for that match, Waffles Niners, you guys both had the Usos, and then JT and I had Roman and Solo. And then from there, let me go to the page where I actually made the initial total points things. I can add those up from that match. Alrighty. So as we stand, we have JT with 3 points, Niners with 4 points, Waffles with 4.5, and myself with 4.5. So we got a tie. But don't worry, people. I came prepared. I had tiebreaker questions added onto prediction sheets. So right now, we are going to have a new champion between myself or Waffles. So let me go to these tiebreaker questions real quick, and then we will start the wrap up. So, for the tiebreaker questions, let me read these. Alrighty. Our first question was any cash-ins to happen at Money in the Bank. I said no, JT said no, Waffle said no, and Niners, you said yes. But for Waffles and I, we both said no. We were correct on that one. Then our second question, there was rumored a big upset to happen, and again, there was a lot of things that could have had went down. Again, the whole thing like, oh, Jay's gonna pin Roman, Balor might win the world heavyweight title, like stuff like that. Like people were saying that these were like the big upsets. Waffles and I both put Balor beating Rollins, because again, my thoughts going into it, I wouldn't have been completely upset if Balor had won. Third question, I said on SmackDown it would be Asuka versus Charlotte Flair for the women's title, and Bianca will most likely interfere, just like as we saw. I said, do you think that they'll have a triple threat match at Money in the Bank? I said yes, and Waffle said yes. So we're still tied. So down to the very last question. Will Drew McIntyre return at Money in the Bank? I said yes. Waffles had said no. So, as you are looking at right now, person that is talking, I am the new champion for predictions. Clap, clap, clap. Yay, yay. I don't have like sound command.
Congratulations.
I don't have sound commands. I'm sorry. I can't do that for myself.
Wow.
What? Hello, Blurty.
Wow.
But yeah,
Wow.
I am the Sandlot Talks
Wow.
champion. So let me.
Wow.
You're being all salty about it.
Wow.
Chill.
No, we could have won that, honestly.
So I will move the title over to me because I am your champion. You're Sandlot Talks champion. But hello, Blurty. Hope you're doing well. We're about to wrap up here. But overall, your guys' thoughts on the entire pay per view, like as a whole. JT, I'll go with you first.
It's the last three PLVs have been very good. I know I spoke to you in Discord about it a little bit in our private DMs. The international crowd factor has been working pretty well with the superstars because the first PLE and Backlash solid event from start to finish. They maybe had one throwaway match or one disappointing match, which was the main event between Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes, which shouldn't have been the main event. It should have been Damian versus Bad Bunny, but still was a pretty good pretty good card. And then you had Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia, pretty solid card from first to start to finish. And then also you have Money in the Bank. You have the London, in the UK. For the most part, solid pay per view from start to finish. Maybe had one or two throwaway matches. So you could say that with the last three PLE events is that you've had maybe one or two, three throwout matches or throwaway matches in the on the card, but solid. I'd say overall, I'd say it's a B plus as far as pay per view is concerned. One of the better pay per views of the year, and all of them been pretty good. Even the Elimination Chamber was good, and Royal Rumble was good. But I would say B plus as far as this pay per view is concerned.
Niners, your overall thoughts on Money in the Bank?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought I thought again you had mentioned this, but the men's Money in the Bank starting it off was great. I think they definitely want to start off with a good pop because then you can when you get into some of these the throwaway matches, for instance, it doesn't feel like you're starting off slow. I thought I said this the three that JT mentioned, and the other one would be Clash at the Castle. I thought every one of these overseas pay per views the crowd has been amazing.
Yeah,
It's loud. It's what you would expect out of some areas that don't get a lot of pay. They don't get a lot of these big events. So I think that's something. And tonight I think you said it as Madison Square Garden. I look for that to be just a pop tonight. Like that should be one of the louder SmackDowns we've heard in a while. But no, I think there's for the WWE, I think this has been a really good move to get some of these international pay-per-views in because I mean with AEW coming in and AEW really has that foothold in some of their call it the US pay-per-views, whether it's down in Florida or I mean even like Chicago is huge for AEW with CM Punk right now. That's just you're going to get massive fans there. So for WWE to kind of slide into that overseas, especially when you have, as we talked about, when you have like a Gunther and a Matt Riddle and a Becky Lynch, and I mean you have a wide array of athletes who are not U.S. They're not American. They're not born in the U.S. So they're tapping into that cultural heritage. I think that's really a great thing for what they've been doing, and I think it's shown in the crowd reactions and what they've been getting here as we've gone through these different ones. And yeah, that whether it was good or bad to have that Roman get pinned overseas, I think it will make long term. I think it will make some of the United States fans a little hungrier for those big moments um, when it comes down to it. But no, pay per view, I thought was really good. I thought it was again you had the right kind of flow where you had a little bit of down where you're coming off a big match, you needed just a little bit of a down or a little bit of a lead in, and to end it with the Bloodline feud, I thought was amazing.
Excellent point. Waffles, your overall thoughts on the pay-per-view entirely?
Thank you for that question. Good evening, judges and panel. I love that waffles, and what I think about Money in the Bank. Well, I think it was a pretty good show. You know, we were in London. You know, crowd was amazing. John Cena definitely said stuff. Um, do I think that we're gonna have more outside countries hosting more events? Yes, I do. I think with how London reacted, I think we are gonna have more pay-per-views outside of the US. And I think overall it was a great show. And thank you, and you guys have a good night. Thank you.
Alrighty. I know we didn't touch on John Cena, but how do you guys feel about WrestleMania in London?
It
Uh,
could be a possibility.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
the way, like, I'll say the way that they're handling, they want to try to do like their what Clash in the Castle. That was supposed to be in Wembley, from what I was seeing. The
Yep.
original plans was, but the local government did not want to pay for WWE to fly out to them, so that's why they went to Cardiff, because Cardiff did actually pay WWE to come out there. But since that John Cena promo, a lot of people in the local government in London have said, "Hey, we can make this happen if we, have a conversation and work things out. We can possibly do this." Plus, I think
I
they're
bring a
just
lot of
being
light to the
very
city.
petty. They're just being very petty right now, just because AEW is gonna be in Wembley next month.
Mm-hmm.
Go on, JT.
I mean, it's like because you have that whole big hype. You know, John Cena comes out and throws that. Nobody was expecting that kind of announcement. You know, they have the crowd for it. Definitely have the crowd and the support from the fans in the UK easily. It's just a matter. I mean, like you said, the local government and the city government, if they're gonna be down with that. But I don't see any I don't see any negative issue with them bringing WrestleMania to London because it's a big benefit for the cities. They make millions of dollars, and it'll create new jobs for the city as well. Putting on the event. So I mean, it's definitely I don't see a negative trade off with that. So we'll see though. Different country, different regulations than how it is here. So we'll see.
I mean, they did have SummerSlam in Wembley all those years ago, so they could definitely have a WrestleMania.
Yep.
So, any other
True.
thoughts on that question? Nope. Alrighty. Well, this is for my wrap up for the YouTube. Again, I'm just gonna do an edited video, and I'm just gonna throw it on my YouTube channel, and I'll put it in my Discord, of course, when that is out. I'm hoping by tonight when I do stop recording. So for YouTube, hi, hello. This will be me saying my goodbyes to YouTube. So, so people that end up watching this on YouTube, I'm gonna show this right now. Is what I'll be doing for the rest of July. Danger Dark. I'm sorry. I should have put the whole thing on my chat where you guys can see, but I will shout you out right there by saying your name. Excellent. Things going for Danger Dork on YouTube. But yeah, we just did our Money in the Bank review, of course, so I should have made that little edit. But next that we'll be doing on Twitch, I don't know if these will be on YouTube, but July 10th, next Monday, I will be doing my Home Run Derby live reaction with anyone that wants to hop on Discord. It's gonna be like a little pregame party because the next day, the following day on July 11th, I will be doing my Across the Spider Verse movie review. I usually tend to wait a little bit after the movie is out, just so people in the community that I'm a part of also watches this, so then they're not completely filled with spoilers. And that is actually my birthday stream, so maybe that podcast will also be put up on YouTube. And then, of course, later in the end of the month, that we'll be doing our SummerSlam predictions, hoping that we can get as many guests for that one, so I can put my new Sandlot Talks championship on the line. So let me switch back to my live scene. But yeah, that'll be pretty much it. I'll stop the recording now for YouTube, but yeah,